Ride through life. Every day is a new beginning. Shine your light. It's a day and the world is waiting. Move along to the song, singing in your soul. Feel the beat, clap your hands, let it take control. All you need, all you want, are you ready to find your way? 'Cause every day is a new day, and everything's going your way. And you wanna make it last forever. We'll keep it together, 'cause it keeps getting better. Whoa, oh, ride through life and move ahead to your destination. Shine so bright, be the light of a new creation. If the world is a stage, better start the show. 7, 8, 9, 10, ready, set, let's go. Turn it on, turn it up. Are you ready to find your way? 'Cause every day is a new day, and everything's going your way. And you wanna make it last forever. We'll keep it together, 'cause it keeps getting better. Feel the sun upon your shoulders. Find the strength to make you bolder. Yeah. And let each moment take you higher, and higher, and higher than you've ever been before. Ride through life. Every day is a new beginning. Every day is a new day, and everything's coming your way. And you wanna make it last forever. Well, every day is a new day, and everything's going your Right through life, every day is a new beginning.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to Keller Williams Red Day. I'm Dylan Silbernagel, and I'm here to represent Keller Williams Realty Centers and our Agent Leadership Council. For those of you just tuning in, Red Day is a Keller Williams worldwide initiative that stands for Renew, Energize, and Donate. It's a day when all of our agents around the world go out to their communities to give where they live. And today our office is donating to local food banks and a local health services charity to give back to where we live. And now I've got three amazing people that I want to introduce today that are donating their time to help our cause. We've got Anna, the social media director, Tanya, the experience designer, and Andrew, the executive chef of Hot Knives Catering. Thank you for joining us, guys. And so Hot Knives Catering prepares home-cooked, savory food for weddings, work, and private events to nourish the body and feed the soul. They create gourmet food, home-cooked food that is both savory and sinful. With them, you can create your custom menu that strives to use local ingredients and caters to a variety of eating lifestyles such as keto, plant-based, health-conscious, and the good old-fashioned comfort food. And so today we get a deep dive with them into the art of barbecue, and I'm looking forward to hearing all about the different cuts of meat, marinades, and brines that they're going to be talking about. So with that, I'm going to throw it to you, Tanya, and leave us with this amazing session that we have planned. Thank you so much for donating your time today.
Oh, thank you for that warm introduction. I believe the pièce de résistance today is our executive chef, Andrew. One of the things that Andrew is absolutely known for is his barbecues. And if ever you get the honor of tasting his brisket, it will melt in your mouth and you're going to come back for more. So today we're going to be diving into barbecue. Thank you for joining us. Let's remember that today is all about fundraising. And we are, today we're able to be socially connected, but physically healthy and physically distanced and learning how to barbecue today. So last year, Keller Williams was able to raise $6,655, donated to various food banks, to Richmond Hill, Aurora, Newmarket, Georgina, and the Bruce Health Unit. So I'm hoping by the end of today, we are going to surpass, last year's $6,655. So let's see what we can do. Thank you for donating. So I'm going to hand it over to Chef Andrew, who's going to dive in about barbecue, and he's going to remember to smile this year, right?
Yep, it's on my notes. Okay, first we're going to talk about spice blends. I'm going to talk about some of my favorite spice blends and teach you how to make a coffee crusted rub for pork shoulder. A lot of the blends is easier just to buy store-bought. So a few of my favorites is a Cajun spice. This is a garlic plus.
Oh yeah, the garlic plus, that's one of my go-tos. You can get it at Costco in the big format. Wonderfully. I was the one who introduced it
exactly.
to you. Yeah.
And what I like about this, it contains no sodium. So you can add flavor without the extra salt, because most of these spice blends already have salt in them. The other one I like to use is a Tex-Mex. So it basically gives you the same spicing and flavor profile as a Cajun spice without the spice. So it's without the hotness. It's basically missing cayenne pepper. So you'll have the cumin and the aromatic spices without the cayenne. So the first thing I'm going to show you is my coffee crusted rub spice, which I'm going to use Reunion brand coffee.
Now, why did you choose Reunion brand coffee?
First of all, I like this brand of coffee because it's already built into a filter. So if you don't have a coffee perk, you can take the bag and put it right into a pot of water for your coffee. So just convenient for when I travel. And I also like the flavor of the coffee. It's a dark roast coffee, and it'll give your barbecue a rich aromatic flavor. So it's about 4 ounces of coffee. One part salt, sugar, and then your choice of a Cajun blend or the Tex-Mex. For me, I like a little spice. So that is the rub. I'm just going to use my hands here, but you could use a spoon. And that was the rub. And I'm going to marinate a pork shoulder with that. Since I have everything out, I'm going to talk about my 3 favorite pieces of pork. So here I have a boneless pork shoulder, I have a back rib, and I have a side rib. My preference is for ribs, my preference is the side rib. I know you could get, if some people think side ribs is a little bit gristly, you can get what they call a St. Louis cut. So essentially it's just giving you the center bones as opposed to the gristle and the flap. It has a little bit more fat and is not as dry as a back rib.
Okay, that's important to know because I've always remembered like back is better. And I've always gone to back, but now I know that if I want to take side ribs, I have to find the St. Louis cut.
Yes, exactly.
And I could always ask the butcher.
Yes, and usually in most grocery stores, they do carry the St. Louis cut of side ribs.
Okay, good to know. Thank you.
It's a little bit fattier, but fat is flavor for me. So I prefer the fat, and it burns off on the barbecue anyways. Creates that char, which gives you that smokiness, and it's great for the barbecue.
And that's part of our sinfulness, right?
Exactly.
It's the use of natural fats.
And what I like about this is the perfect meat for pulled pork or like a braised pork sandwich because it has a little bit of fat in it. But what I am going to do is I am going to cut a piece off for a steak. I prefer this over a loin because most pork loins are really dry. So you have to be careful with pork loin. If you notice the marbling and the fat on this, it does burn off, but you can also cut around it. For me, I'd rather have a fatty piece of meat that I can cut around the fat because fat is flavor. You don't have to eat all the fat, but it does burn off on the barbecue or when you cook it.
And it does seep in, like that flavor from the fat really does seep into the meat, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Me, I'm just gonna wash my hands.
And gives it that a little bit more of a richness and takes away from some of the dryness.
Yep. So since I have this all out, I'm going to prepare this to braise in the oven. What I like to do generally for ribs is some people boil their ribs. I prefer to slow roast to braise it in the oven in a covered container. Is when you boil the ribs, you can't pre-season because you're basically washing off the seasoning as you're boiling it, right? Unless you flavor the liquid really strongly. So I'm going to season the ribs with my coffee rub. Be very generous with the rub.
And even for people, I'm not a big coffee person. But I must say that the first time Chef Andrew brought over the coffee rub, the flavors were incredibly indulgent. So even for the non-coffee lovers who don't drink coffee, because I know there's a couple of us out there, I still encourage you to try it. It is just impeccable.
So we'll put the pork into a container. And at this point, you can add your aromatic flavor into it. Excuse me. Usually for me, which is some onion. Carrot. This is actually a yellow carrot. It doesn't matter, but this is just what I happen to have in my fridge. It has an heirloom carrot. So you can see, the reason I just put it on top, when you braise it, the flavors will just go onto the meat. And then a little bit of liquid of your choice. Sometimes some people like to put apple cider in there, or you can put wine, you can use a beef broth, you can use a vegetable broth. Generally speaking, a little bit of tomato would be nice in there. I do have some cooking in the oven already. You're basically covering it and you're baking it in the oven until it becomes tender to your desire. And the reason I say to your desire is sometimes people think when you cook ribs or when they want it soft and fork tender, which is fine, but sometimes it can be over braised. Whereas as soon as you pick it up, it falls apart in your hand and it basically disintegrates. I like a little pull on my bones, but not too tender so it falls off when you grab them.
So I guess it's how you define fall off the ribs.
Yeah.
That is right.
Yeah.
You know, some people love it when they just like peels off, and versus other people likes it when they when they have to gnaw at it a little bit.
Exactly.
It's a little bit of work. Okay.
I personally like a little bit of chew. Okay, so that will be cooking in the oven. Generally, it takes about 2 to 3 hours. And then I can show you what the finished product looks like. Excuse me. So essentially, we have, this is the pork shoulder. These are your ribs. And if you notice, when I mean fork tender, if you notice when I break it apart, I can tear it apart, but there's still a little give. The meat doesn't completely disintegrate on you. So to me, this is the perfect doneness. And at this point, usually I like doing this because if you find when you do ribs on a barbecue, they get dry. And when you braise it, it retains the moisture of the meat. And then when we show you the demo barbecue video, all you're doing is heating it through and adding a barbecue sauce so that sauce is on it caramelized. So
Chef Andrew, how long were those ribs in total in the oven?
About 2.5, 3 hours.
At what heat?
350.
350. Okay.
Some people, I personally like to do it low and slow. I would do it for like 4 hours at 275. Low and slow is better, right? It just, this way more flavor imparts into the meat, as well as you're not over drying it.
So isn't it funny how we think of barbecue and we think, well, we're going to go to the barbecue, but in fact, we can actually create the whole barbecue flavor right in our kitchen with using your oven.
Okay, so the next step, I'm going to talk to you about chicken and some of my favorite kinds of chicken. Can you grab?
Yeah.
Yes. Yep.
One more. Oh, that's it.
Okay, so we got a boneless breast, we got chicken wings, we have a drumstick, a leg, a back on leg, and we have the chicken drum. I personally like the chicken wings the best. For some people, it's not meaty enough, so a good alternative is using the drum meat because there is more meat on this, and you can still pick it up with your hands and eat it. So the drumette is actually a good choice. For people who prefer a leaner, cleaner protein, chicken breast is perfect for them. And this is a boneless, skinless chicken breast. It's easy to cook. The only problem with this is it has very little fat. So you just have to be careful with overcooking it.
Yeah, because we don't want to dry it out.
So I am going to teach you how to make a simple brine. And you brine because it just retains the moisture of the meat. So essentially it is sugar, salt, and water.
So question for you, Chef Andrew. Is there a difference between a rub and a brine?
Oh yes, absolutely. A rub is a dry blend of spices that you put on the meat, generally speaking, at a couple of hours or when it's ready to cook.
Yeah.
A brine, you're essentially putting it in a liquid overnight. Ideally, for minimum of ideally 24 hours, but minimum of 2 to 3 hours.
Okay.
Essentially, it's putting salt and sugar all the way through the meat and whatever aromatic spices you want in there. So
how then does that differ from a marinade?
A marinade is a combination of spices, herbs, and oils. Okay.
Okay.
So we'll go through that after. So essentially, I'm going to make you a brine, which is 2 parts.
Oh, we're back.
Which is 2 parts salt, 1 part water, and then you're melting it into a pot. I have one actually made. Essentially, you're letting the chicken soak in the brine for 24 hours, and that will impart flavor, and basically the liquid will absorb into the meat. A lot of times when you're doing a rub, the benefit of a brine is you're getting the flavor all the way through the meat, as opposed to just on the outer surface, right? So it's penetrated through the whole meat. So when you're eating it to the bone, you still have flavor there.
So would you say a brine is actually better for white meat, which has less fat?
It would be ideal for white meat, but it should be bone-in.
Because?
Because that will hold the moisture better.
Okay.
Hold the moisture and less surface area for it to dry. So you're cooking a bone, it will hold the moisture. And generally speaking, even if you do eat things skinless, I prefer to remove the skin after you cook the meat, because the skin retains the moisture of the food. Like honestly, for sometimes I would put like strips of bacon onto a bone on turkey, chicken breast, because that kind of the grease and the flavor from the bacon will baste your meat, and it prevents the meat from drying out on the barbecue. So
you just have to have the willpower to not eat the bacon after.
Yeah,
okay.
The bacon is good. Low-fat bacon.
Low-fat bacon.
So I'm going to show you now, since I have the chicken leg, I'm going to show you how to make a jerk marinade. I actually buy jerk spice. My brand of choice is with the Walker's Wood jerk spice. Grab me some spoons, please.
Sure. Bigger salt.
That's right. Couple of tablespoons of this. Some fresh thyme, which I have already chopped here. Some minced garlic. Sorry, I said minced garlic, but I meant whole garlic cloves. I generally don't like using minced garlic on the barbecue because, for one thing, it falls off and it burns. So you have a bitter taste to your food. Usually what I do is I crush the garlic and I put it on the meat, and I just let the garlic rub on the meat, so you impart some garlic flavor without getting the chunks.
Do one more. So as Chef Andrew is continuing with the garlic, again, thank you for coming today. Thank you for participating. We really appreciate you showing up and staying socially connected with all of us and our colleagues and friends. But remember, today is about a fundraiser. We're here to donate to the various food banks: Richmond Hill, Aurora, Georgina, Newmarket, and the Bruce Health Center. Please donate today. Last year, we reached 6,655, and we're hoping to surpass that number this year. Thank you very much.
So we have the jerk spice, garlic, thyme in there, little olive oil. And you mix the chicken, but really what I like to do is with the rub, I would grab some of the marinade and put it in between the skin. As we get older, we're more concerned about health and fat and cholesterol. And for me, the skin is the best part because it has all the flavor. But if you season the meat, your meat, and put the flavoring in between the skin and the flesh, then you have all the flavor and spice without the fat. So it's a little bit more easy to reduce the urge to eat the skin. So essentially what I've done is I've tucked the spicing and the garlic in between the flesh and the skin. Go ahead.
So I know with cooking, we too, we're always washing our hands. We like to use our hands because our fingers, they're tools, and we can really get in when we want to spread the rubs or spread the seasoning. We can really get it everywhere. And same thing with mixing. Rather than using a spoon, we could really feel the mixing actually happening and coming together.
So this is our jerk chicken. Now it is ready. You can do two things with this. This can be baked in the oven, partially, or you can bake it in the oven completely if you don't have a barbecue, or just put it on the barbecue now. After it sits for a few hours, ideally it's best to let it sit for a few hours. But sometimes if I'm in a rush, I like partially baking it in the oven, especially if I'm serving multiple guests. It's easier to pre-cook the chicken before I add it on the barbecue. This way you reduce flare up and you reduce the chance of it burning. So if the chicken is 50% cooked, or the chicken is even better fully cooked, then it imparts more flavor and less likely to burn the meat. Okay, I haven't left out the vegetarians. I am going to talk about vegetables now. And some of my favorite vegetables to use on a barbecue would be corn and mushrooms. And some of the less popular ones, or the least known ones, I personally like using yucca root. Yucca root is a South American tuber, very similar to potato, but it has a natural buttery taste without having to add butter. So essentially you peel the skin off it, and I'll show you. It looks like a potato. You peel the skin off and you would boil it like a potato. Or what you can do too is, once it's completely peeled, cut into pieces and you boil it. Or another alternative, instead of boiling it, I have parchment paper here. What you can do is you make a little pouch. Cut into pieces. Add seasoning. I like using a little bit of Tex-Mex spice, some salt.
Now that technique's called le papillon.
Yes, papillette.
Pardon.
Papillon is butterfly.
Butterfly, of course.
Papillette is envelope, essentially.
Oui, c'est exact.
Right?
Pardon. Yes.
Then you make a little pouch. You could, traditionally there's a little pleat fold that you can do. But for me, honestly, a stapler works best. It seals it in without, and it holds the moisture. And then once it's folded, staple it. And this can sit on your barbecue or sit in the oven. And this way, as you are grilling your meat, you have this steaming on the side. Can you grab me a piece of foil?
Yes.
Same size. So I am now going to show you how to marinate vegetables. My veggies of choice for the barbecue are peppers, corn, mushrooms. I have here shiitake.
Oh, shiitake is my favorite. I just find them to be so much more savorful than just regular button mushrooms. But button mushrooms will do the trick too.
King oyster mushrooms.
Oh yes, and the king oyster mushrooms.
Onions of your choice. I like fresh. I like my vegetables fresh and aromatic, so I would put thyme, some parsley, maybe some Cajun spice just for some depth, salt and pepper, and olive oil, or any oil of your choice. Coconut oil works as well for those on a keto type diet. You mix everything together, and it goes into the foil pack. You can do it one of two ways. You can fold it like an envelope, or how I like to fold it is you feed it together like this. And if you really want to get fancy, you make a little swan, but that's very old school French. And then you fold the ends up, and you make sure when you place this in the oven or barbecue that you're placing it seam side up as opposed to seam side down, because it could leak on you. And this is an ideal for the barbecue because now you can put this on a barbecue and let it slowly cook while you're barbecuing your meat. This way you're not worried about too many things at once on the barbecue.
So the whole vegetables is like you set it and forget it.
Okay. Now we're going to introduce Gary to play our video. We have a demo on how to barbecue.
So thank you very much for today. I'm glad you enjoyed your experience. Remember, today is about fundraiser. It is, you could donate, and Gary and Dylan, just make sure I have the right website. It's at www.kwrcredday.ca. And I'm wondering, Gary, Dylan, can you tell us how much money we've raised so far as of last night?
Yeah, thanks, Tanya. We are currently at $1,770, and that's starting to climb fast. So thank you for donating and making your donations. Absolutely.
That's awesome. We're so thrilled to hear. So we're a third of the way there to 6,000, just over 6,000. Fantastic. So I think next, because of the setup, Chef Andrew and his son videotaped him barbecuing. And so I believe that's what Gary's going to play now.
How to clean your barbecue. Maybe last time you used the barbecue, you did not clean it, and now it's really dirty like this. So there is a trick to clean the barbecue. First thing I do is I clear some aluminum foil. And what we do is we completely cover the barbecue. And what I do, because it sometimes blows away, I would fold up some aluminum foil balls just to weight it down. And we'll do one more in the center. Then we turn up the barbecue to high and let it burn off. What we're doing is we are retaining the heat on the barbecue, and it's gonna get really hot, and it will just burn off the carbon. So then it's really easy to clean afterwards. Now, while we're waiting for that, I'm gonna take a few minutes to discuss the pre-prep that I like for barbecues. Generally speaking, I like to have oil, non-stick cooking spray, paper towel, some sort of cleaning product just in case we handle raw chicken or just to keep the barbecue clean. And also, we need something to put the cooked meats in. This way we prevent cross-contamination. So I like something that's sealable and can have a lid on it that we can cover. Generally speaking, I like to use disposable aluminum or something that I can also put here on the warming rack of the barbecue to keep the cooked item. So after about 15 minutes, your barbecue will be nice and hot, and you can remove the foil, which I also usually have some sort of garbage bag by the barbecue for easy access. The foil will be a little hot, be careful, but I usually like to save the foil. Now, if you notice the barbecue, most of the dirt has been burnt away. And now you just give it a good brush because it's hot and a lot of the carbon is burnt off. It cleans with ease. So give it a quick brush. Usually at this point, I like to wipe off the barbecue with some paper towel to get rid of the black stuff, the black carbon. Now all that black things your barbecue should be clean. Now we oil it with a little bit of oil. Some people like using non-stick cooking spray as well, and I will probably do that as again also. So just a little bit oil on the paper towel. And oil the barbecue. So now you see a little glisten on the barbecue. And some people use non-cooking spray. Only thing is if you use this, do not spray directly on the barbecue because it will cause a flame and sometimes it blows back into the can. So I usually spray at a slight angle and just so it's on the barbecue a little bit. Now we're ready to barbecue. The first thing I'm going to show you is a steak. So I have a ribeye steak here, which I'm going to put on, and usually what I do is I will put it on a slight angle. This way you get a perfect crosshatch. And that will be a few minutes. Since we're grilling a steak, I'm going to teach you a little method of how to tell the degree of doneness of the steak. This is what I call the palm method of doneness. So if you pinch your finger like this together and you feel the meat, that will be what the meat will feel like if it's rare. And this here will be well done. See how quickly it springs back? So the first finger will be rare. The second finger will be medium rare. The third finger will be medium well. And the last finger is well done. See how tight the meat feels and it doesn't spring back. So that's how you tell by touch. Or some people use a meat thermometer. Personally, I do not like to use that because as soon as you poke the meat, you're releasing the moisture. And for your vegetarians, I haven't forgotten about you or left you out. A little trick with the vegetables on a barbecue. I know it's very annoying when the vegetables fall through the grill. So usually what I do is I purchase a cooling rack from the dollar store, or this one is from an old toaster oven. And if you put it horizontally across the grill, now you created a grid. So now your vegetables won't fall through. And what I've done here is I put a little bit of olive oil on the vegetables and some salt and pepper. Or you can also add whatever seasoning you like. So now your vegetables will not fall through the grill. I also have a corn on the cob here, which I removed the silk. So it's a long stringy piece, and the corn, you'll see a little piece right here, if you can. And what I've done is I've soaked it with a little bit of water, and then you just put it on the barbecue. And now it would just steam. Now we have the steak. We can flip the steak, not flip the steak, but turn the steak. So now, again, I'm putting it at a 45-degree angle. So this way, when I'm ready to turn it, it will create a crosshatch. Now I'm going to talk about chicken on the barbecue. I have a raw chicken wing that's coated in a light seasoning. You get any seasoning of your choice. There's a little bit of oil on it. And another trick to prevent it from sticking, instead of using oil, just spray some non-stick cooking spray. And the reason you would do this is that it doesn't drip as much as the oil will. And this way you ensure it's all over the surface and you'll get reduced flare up because the oil is not dripping on the barbecue. Now we have one little problem. I just touched raw chicken with these pair of tongs. And that is a no-no because if I flip the vegetables, I would have just cross-contaminated. And that is why I usually have some sort of sanitizer cleaning product on hand. So I'm going to spray it with a little bit of disinfectant. And I have the paper towel and I wipe it. Generally speaking, you could do one of two things. You can clean in between, or you can have two pairs of tongs. Most of the time with two pair of tongs, people get confused. And then eventually they both would have touched the raw chicken. So I usually just like to clean it as I go. Every time I touch raw chicken, I will wipe it. And now let's talk a little bit of the barbecue sauce. I have a barbecue sauce here that I'm gonna glaze my meats with after when they're almost cooked. And a nice trick is you can put it in some sort of a heat-proof container and keep it on the barbecue. This way the sauce stays warm. So I'll just set it aside here on the warming rack. Now by this point, your steak will have been on the grill for approximately 4 minutes. 2 minutes on each turn or each rotation. Now I'm going to flip the steak and notice the crosshatch on the steak. Now I'm going to show you some of the other meats that I've cooked during the demo. I have a piece of jerk chicken that we're going to put on the barbecue. I have some chicken wings that were cooked in the oven that I will put on the barbecue. Before I do, I'm going to spray a little non-stick cooking spray on it so it won't stick. Other side as well. Okay, now we're going to flip the vegetables. Note how the portobello mushroom has shrunk a little bit, and the vegetables have a little bit of a grill mark on them. At this point, if you like a more crunchier vegetable, which I do, we can put it in the container. And one issue I always have when I barbecue is the fact that I have more food than the barbecue can hold, and how do you keep everything warm? So a great way to solve that is the heat-proof container that we can now put on the barbecue. So what I do is I put the lid on it and I keep it up here and it nicely steams. So at this point, the steak is ready as well. For those who like the steak more cooked, we can put it on the foil pan and then put it up here so it stays warm. Me personally, I rather take it off and let it rest. I would prefer a warm steak that's not overcooked than a piping hot steak that's overcooked. So we have the vegetables here. Now I'm just going to flip the corn. And note I can turn the chicken wings. I always get asked, I actually flipped that first, so now I contaminated my pair of tongs, which means I need to clean them. I should have turned that last piece of jerk chicken before I touched the raw chicken. People always ask me when to put barbecue sauce on the meat. I personally like putting it on halfway through cooking. You put it on too early, it burns, but you do want to get a nice glaze on the protein. So now we can brush on the barbecue sauce. And what we could do too, an issue sometimes is the barbecue flaring up. Lid on or lid off. If the lid is on, it retains the heat of the barbecue. When you have the lid open, it helps with flare up because you're afraid that things will burn. So it depends what you want. Sometimes it's good to have the lid on partially, so it gives smokiness and it retains the heat. Okay, now we're gonna talk about ribs. These are the ribs that I braised in the oven, and we're gonna put on the barbecue. Usually what I like doing is spraying it with non-stick cooking spray so it doesn't stick. The ribs are 100% cooked. We are more or less just heating them through and glazing it with barbecue sauce. Now the ribs have been on the grill for approximately 10 minutes. I'll flip the ribs and we could glaze it with barbecue sauce. I like the sugars in the barbecue sauce to caramelize a bit, just to give it some more flavor. And at this point as well, we can glaze the chicken wings with barbecue sauce. Now it does not have to be barbecue sauce. We can do, like you can do a mustard sauce, you can do a Thai chili sauce. Generally it's something sweet and sugary, but for those who don't like that, lemon juice and oil works fine as well. You're just adding additional flavor to it. When I brushed that chicken wing, I actually waited for it to cook before I added the barbecue sauce. This way you're not cross-contaminating the grill brush, or the basting brush. Now, the corn is nice and charred on the outside, and if you look inside, it's cooked and it was steaming. At this point, you can brush it with butter. A good idea is, like the barbecue sauce, you can have some melted butter to brush on your corn or your vegetables if you like butter. So now I'm going to remove the pan, open up the pan, and we can start putting our meats inside. And the vegetables are warm, keeping warm. Now we have the ribs, the chicken wings. I have a nice little glaze of barbecue sauce on them. And the jerk chicken. Now that all the meat's removed and we have a dirty barbecue, the easiest time to clean it is before you turn it off, because the grill is hot and the dirt and the food residue comes off quite easily. A little brush. Now it's more or less ready for use for next time. If you want, at this point too, you can also take a paper towel or your kitchen rag and wipe it clean, but that's not necessary.
We're back.
And welcome back. I'm telling you, I cannot wait for lunch this afternoon. Because the team's going to get together and eat this delicious barbecue. So I hope you're also mouth is watering and you're inspired to maybe run out to the supermarket tonight and start barbecuing for this evening and this weekend. So I've been talking to Gary, and I hear that we're up to $1,945. That is great. So, and that is over $200 in the last 15 minutes. So I know that by the end of this segment, we can absolutely make it over $2,000 without a doubt. So challenge accepted. Good, great. Okay.
Okay, now, although I didn't demo this, this is a potato pack that I made earlier and I put it in the oven. So do you notice the potatoes are nicely steamed and they're fully cooked? And here, Tanya, you can try some.
Oh, absolutely.
You notice they are perfectly soft and tender and melt in your mouth. Another thing I want to talk about is the yucca root that I showed you earlier to make a pouch. If you don't want to steam it like that in the pouch, you can always boil it. And I have some boiled here. So I'm just going to drain off. And yucca is a South American tuber, but my parents moved to South America in the mid-50s after the Cultural Revolution took place. So that's
So a lot of your current cooking actually is not just from Asian roots, but also from North American roots, but also from South American roots.
yes, a lot of the things my parents cooked for us, I didn't realize at the time, were actually South American influence, like yucca and corn flour and such. But this is one of my favorite starches as opposed to a potato. If you taste it, Tanya.
And what you talked about is that you said that this had a buttery flavor, like
Yeah.
it's without. So this is actually without any spices.
That is just boiled in water. There's not even salt on it.
You're right. You could actually taste like there's actually a buttery flavor to it.
Yeah, it's
Oh my God.
it's very buttery. That's one of my favorite starches to use. I'm going to finish off with giving some tips for the apartment condo dweller who does not own a barbecue.
Hold on, this is really good. Why didn't you tell me about this beforehand? How long have we been working
You
together?
were in a low carb diet, so I couldn't tell you.
Thank you.
Right.
Hold on.
They want to be an enabler. So now 2 options here. I have a grill pan that I have on the heat. And I also have a griddle, a George Foreman grill. So you can put it in the grill.
Because I'm sure we all have a George Foreman grill somewhere tucked away in a cupboard that we haven't used in a while. This is the time to crack it open, bring it out, dust it off, and use it.
And that will give you some barbecue flavor without having a barbecue. And for people who do not have a barbecue or want to cook any barbecue flavor, I would also suggest using smoky spices like smoked salt, smoked paprika, chipotle peppers, which is basically a smoked Anaheim pepper, or things like that. You can also cheat and buy liquid smoke. You'll find that in the marinade spice section, condiment section of your grocery store.
Turn this down.
So the other option, if you George Foreman grill, or you put it on the grill pan.
Oh, I love my Cosette. I got that as a wedding gift, 25 years ago, and this is something that I use all the time.
So this, it gets very smoky. So what I would suggest, you grill it, you mark it, you get char marks on it, and you just finish it in the oven. But that will give you a barbecue flavor without having a barbecue.
So ever since hanging out with Andrew and us creating Hot Nights Catering, I've actually done that. I've actually used my grill to sear everything. And just to, right? Because it locks in that flavor.
Exactly. Another option too is this is the veg pouch that I made earlier that we can put on the barbecue, or you can also just mark it on the grill pan. So you can just open it up and dump it into the grill, and you hear it sizzle. You get the grill markings on it, and you get a little bit of a char. That will impart a barbecue flavor without the barbecue. And it won't fully cook here, but you can just finish it in the oven.
So again, just searing it, getting that char going, and then locking in the flavor before throwing it into the oven.
Exactly.
Got it. Yep.
Okay, now we're going to wrap it up. Thank you very much for inviting us to participate in this. We had a great time.
Gary, this is now a Q&A time. I'm wondering if anybody wrote in with questions or comments.
Yeah. We didn't get many questions, but what we did get obviously was, wow, I'm hungry. That looks so amazing. I loved how you made it look so easy, Chef Andrew, on the barbecue. You just with your technique. I'm going out to barbecue. That's what I'm doing right now. I'm sure many others will do the same. So thank you for that. And I want to extend, our gratitude, share some gratitude towards Anna, Tanya, and Chef Andrew. Thank you so much for being with us today and providing your expertise and having some fun along the way. Because watching somebody else cook is always lots of fun. We just don't get to take part in the great food that you made today, but fantastic. And just like last year, thank you so much. And we're so thrilled to have you a part of our Red Day this year.
And I also like to spend a special thanks to my son, who got up this morning at 7:30 a.m. to film the video. And that is no feat for a teenager, considering that's what time I normally go to bed. So thank you, Joshua Farm.
Yes.
Yeah, Chef Andrew, that might be the miracle of the day.
Exactly. So
Very
thanks again.
good.
So Gary, quick question. I wrote a challenge that we would reach 2,000 by the end of the segment. Did we reach that?
We are awfully close. We are still the $55 away from the $2,000 mark, but I know that's going to happen.
The segment's not over.
There's
So come on, guys.
There's 20 seconds left of the segment. Come on, let's reach that $2,000 mark. Come on, we can make it.
I love it. I love
WRCRedday.ca.
There you have it, my friends. There you have it. Oh, I'm getting notes here in the Facebook comments. My donations are coming. They're on their way in. So that's fantastic. And yes,
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you for everyone that's donated. It goes to such a great cause locally here at our Richmond Hill, Aurora, Newmarket, and Keswick food banks, and of course to the Health Services Center out in Grey Bruce. We have been blessed by the things that have been given to us, and it's our opportunity to give back to the community. And I'm so thankful that we have this platform to do this today and going forward. Thank you again to Anna and Tanya and Chef Andrew for taking part in today and providing your expertise and having a little fun with us. Thank you so much to Hot Knives Catering. And again, please donate throughout the day and share the good news with others on your Facebook page or let them know what we're doing. Next up is Vanessa Lynn from the dance studio in Newmarket, Dance Studio 14. And we're excited to have her come on at 1 o'clock. So we look forward to having her at 1 o'clock and looking forward to seeing everybody there. Bye for now. And thank you so much for participating in Red Day with us.
Awesome. Thank you.
Cheers.
Cheers. Bye-bye.